Well, today's Monday morning, and I hope everybody's doing fine. We are doing one poem this morning, courtesy of Lee County Pod. Pete Malidnik is our host today, as always. And Pete, would you go ahead and introduce our poetry today?
Thank you, Jack. The poem for today is by Susan C. Waters. It's titled, "I Missed My Chance to Be Unhappy with You." And I'll go ahead and read it. With open hands you offered yourself and I changed the subject. Still, a spider thread winds around me. You were a kind, soft man. Still, I saw your dark hunger for all those bottles behind the bar. So many colors, the Lorelei of young and old, winking, opening lips. I knew Barbarossa's ruined fortress near your house had been eyeing you. You were perfect. Instead of the soon-to-be frozen ground which now hugs you, I hope you are with Barbarossa and his sleeping knights in the Kaufhauser mountains, thirsting for mead even during sleep, waiting.
Initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts are, I'm not sure how well I did on the German pronunciation of Kaufhauser, so Susan, if you're watching, please pardon me. But initial thoughts are, what a good poem, exclamation mark. And a little bit of information, this poem was published in September of 2025 in the I-70 Review, which is a very good journal from what I can tell myself. The I-70 Review September 2025. And another note in regard, well, first I will just show people Susan Waters' chapbook that came out in 2017, Heat Lightning. I don't know if people can get a good look at that. The beautiful print on the cover is by Tom Thompson, and it's titled Lightning Canoe Lake. And this chapbook is published by the Orchard Street Press out of Gates Mills, Ohio. And as to the poem itself, one reference in it is to the Lorelei, and Susan has noted the Lorelei is a folk song written by Heinrich Heine. Heartbroken, she turned into a siren. And she also added another footnote. Frederick Barbarossa, 1122 to 1190, was a Holy Roman Emperor. He will awaken to save Germany when it is in dire circumstances, from folklore. And since I've mentioned that, and we have talked about this beforehand, Jack, let me see how to phrase this question. Can find the question. Oh yeah, would knowing anything about Barbarossa's fortress give a reader a better appreciation of the poem? Now somebody might say, oh, that's a non-question. Of course it would, but it's worth putting our attention on for a minute.
Well, the thing is, the real answer is no. Now, the more you know about an area, the more you're able to identify place, that's helpful. But there's an element of fantasy about this poem. And when you mention Barbarossa, when you mention fortress
In the Lorelei.
and the Lorelei, you're falling back to the myth, the mythology, the callback to the past. We discussed it earlier. We and I find parallels between this poetry and the Barbarossa's fortress and the story of Barbarossa coming to aid Germany in its time of need. There's parallels with the Arthurian legend in which Arthur rests at Avalon until he is needed again to come and rise up as king for Britain. There are parallels here, at least on the surface. And it draws us into the mythical world. It draws us into the legendary world of the past in medieval Europe, where being a knight was no mean thing. Being Holy Roman Emperor was the apex of civilization. You're the guy who held it all together. Everyone came to you for the answers. You're king, you're emperor, and you're defending the faith, you're defending the people, the mythology of all that plays into this poetry. And she's contrasting that mythology with a contemporary man. She's contrasting this mythology with this idea of this man she's spending time with, being tempted by what he sees in the bar, being tempted by the idea of the fortress on the hill that's above his house, so to speak. He's a slippery figure to get a grasp on. Sorry, we had a glitch on the feed here. I don't know why. But to recap real quick,
Is it okay now?
yeah, we're back up, but that was just odd. To recap quickly is that there's the implication of this relationship that is deeper than a simple friendship or deeper than an acquaintance, and perhaps is moving in a direction that is very serious and requires a commitment that perhaps neither party is willing to give at this particular time, or that they're torn in their view of that commitment. So that's my take.
I changed the subject. Consider this too. Yeah, the title does function in a way as a first line. However, it clearly is not, as she capitalizes with at the start of the literal first line, but it does have that effect. Consider, though, what I feel. Let me put it this way. The title of the poem is so attention-getting. If you were to also make it the first line of the poem, it would dilute the effectiveness of it.
I think the way she did it,
we don't need to hear it. It's better just once.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think she was very intentional in how she wrote this poem.
Oh, very intentional.
And
yeah.
and again, it's the title itself again gives us what we need to know about what the story that the narrator tells.
And another thing, and I have talked with Susan Waters about this, at the very end of it, after waiting, there is no period, and that was left off simply to give that effect of waiting to be rescued.
Well, waiting for
Waiting.
the conclusion. No, again, the implication is that the gentleman in the poem, the potential lover, has passed away.
Oh, okay. And I'm referring back to my notes again. Waiting with no period resonates with a spider thread winds at the beginning of the poem.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause the spider is waiting.
Right. And again, no, there is this organization of the poem that simply there's a back and forth here between the images. There's a back and forth between the fortress and the Lorelei, so to speak. There is this idea of there's a callback between the Lorelei and the bar, because Lorelei represents the temptation of man, and the bar scene represents the man's temptation. He's obviously a drinker. He obviously has his eyes on the bottles behind the bar.
And where, also I'm thinking, I go back to that adage, poetry is more about questions than answers. I think it's a very positive ambiguity that the bottles behind the bar are not qualified. We're not told that. I see it as her being in his residence, but they could be out in the bar
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I think the
important thing is I saw your dark hunger.
right. I think no. And again, she leaves it up to the interpretation of the reader. It could be a fully stocked bar in the gentleman's house. That's not uncommon, especially in Europe. It could be a ale house. It could be a draft house, in which just a pub that people go to at night to sit down, have a bit of supper, and and drink and have a conversation. It could the idea is that there is an intimacy here. There's an intimacy in the interchange between the man and the woman. And while they're sitting there, she notices that the guy keeps looking at the bar. That again, there's this tension there that the man is not necessarily fully committed to interacting with the speaker.
Yeah, and thinking of this, which I hadn't before just now, as far as the diction in this poem, the use of the word soft.
Yes.
In a more prosaic light, the speaker might have said, "You were a kind,
Gentle.
thoughtful." That could even be virtuous, pertaining to character. But the other word pertains more to manner, how you did things. A lesser poem would have tender, but
Yeah.
we have that monosyllable following kind, soft. It's a matter of timing, and soft is just the right word there. Still, you were a nice guy. You were wonderful, whatever. Still, to signal contrast, I saw your dark hunger, and then so many colors. The Lorelei of young and old. Of young and old. Any comment on that, Jack?
That right there, when you combine that with Lorelei, meaning that whatever the temptation is, it cuts across our natures, whether we're young or old. Some of us don't grow out of our temptations. Some of us don't change. No, the man has a dark hunger. In reference to the alcohol. and that can be a problem. If he's 25, maybe he will grow out of it, but if he's 60, he never grew out of it. You see, and that's the illusion there, is that there is the Lorelei is still singing. The Lorelei is still singing to tempt and draw the sailor into the rocks. All right, and likewise, the temptation of an addiction draws the person who is afflicted into the rocks, into destruction. And it not only touches the individual afflicted with the addiction, but it touches everyone around him in some shape, form, or fashion. But again, it's a very subtle. We have to acknowledge this subtlety of this poetry, because it's not. She's not being. No, she's not using a sledgehammer with it. It's these glimpses. It's these very subtle allusions to the siren, to the temptation, to the hunger.
In the way the Lorelei is described, also winking, opening lips.
Right.
Somehow it just seems the right thing to say.
Right, because again, it gives this idea of a seduction that is occurring. Just the idea that the beginning, it's the beginning of something. The opening of lips. All right, that's the beginning. It's not the end, it's just the beginning of it. So there is this element of seduction going on. There is this element of the man being pulled away from the woman, so to speak. And the idea of, what's the whole theme of the poem? I miss my opportunity to be unhappy with you.
Yeah, and the you in the title represents the prospective future. Be with me tomorrow and the day after and the day after. A man, we find out, and he's offered to, so to speak, rescue the speaker from what, though?
Yeah.
The title itself is also ironic. Logically, I missed my chance to be happy with you, but you look at the opposite side of that, and it signals something that she knew of him beforehand, before
Right.
before the poem began. So Barbarossa was waiting to rescue or save an empire.
Right.
I knew Barbarossa's ruined fortress near your house had been eyeing you. We don't know, I don't know exactly where the speaker is at the moment they're speaking, but that's not important.
No.
The important thing is to know that the speaker must have been acquainted with the place in the poem, near your house. I knew this fortress was right by your house, and it had been eyeing you.
Right.
Kind of like the Lorelei.
Yes. And again, this calls back to the mythology. And the man himself may very well be invested in that mythology. Okay? The way he speaks, the way he carries himself, the way he speaks about his heritage, about where he comes or came from. Okay? Within this context, the fortress is eyeing him as if he is a suitable suitor for the fortress. No, as if he would fit in with Barbarossa and his men. See, so again, it's continuing with the mythology of the place, continuing on with the mythology of the empire. No, very similar to what how the British feel about Arthur and the legend of Arthur, and no, where their view of the monarchy is really different than pretty much the rest of the world, because they have, while it's a constitutional monarchy and a limited monarchy, they still have a great reverence for the monarch, generally speaking. That is changing in today's culture and society, but generally, historically, they have a deep reverence for the king and the queen and the royal family in general. Still viewed as necessary, as a unifying feature or factor. Again, the poet pays tribute and honor to the idea of a noble hierarchy or a noble or aristocracy that whose purpose is not to victimize the people of the land, but to actually to be a protector and a defender of the values and culture over which they rule.
And of course, she's speaking in past tense. The man is deceased. You were kind. You were soft. You were perfect. And a well-wishing, instead of the soon-to-be frozen ground which now hugs you. Now see there too, we've got in one clause, not even the complete sentence, we have the present and the future.
Right.
And the future coming before the past. I mean, the future coming before the present. And the I hope you're with Barbarossa and his sleeping nights. Barbarossa also in the legend is sleeping. Yeah. Thirsting for mead. Have we addressed that?
Well, the thing is, again, thirsting for mead is a callback to the scene in the bar. Again,
Yeah,
the
of
man,
course.
the man is thirsting for mead. He's thirsting for one thing while engaged with another. Again, no, it's. And I think when she's referencing the issue of thirsting for mead, again, this is the idea that with Barbarossa, even though they're sleeping, there's still going to be a time in which they will be feasting. There will be a time in which they will be celebrating. Reminiscent of Valhalla and the Norse beliefs that noble warriors will go to Valhalla and feast with the gods and feast with their noble brethren and so on and so forth. And that's a callback. It's a callback that the man in the poem is worthy to be part of Barbarossa's crew, and that he desires the mead, he desires the bottles, but there's a proper place for each of these things.
Yes. And the spider is like the Lorelei from the Rhine River who calls the sailors to their death. But I've never read another poem quite like it.
No.
I've seen the Lorelei appear in other poems, but this one certainly got my attention the moment I read it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think most excellent poetry will grab your attention within the first couple of stanzas. You'll read something that surprises you, This is simply the way the words are structured will surprise you.
You know, in here, again, you get something new out of it each time you read it. The one self-reference, a spider thread winds around me.
Right.
Yeah. We're glad that it does in a way because we got this great poem.
Right. See, the thing about the spider thread, you could call it an allegory or whatever. A spider thread connects, right? It's a connective theme, and poets use it as representing a web. No. Forms. It's formed of these threads. Each thread interlocks with the other thread. And you can spin it out to encompass a whole set of thoughts and ideas and archetypes. So the spider thread itself, it's like the spider thread connects the man and the woman. Spider thread connects time and place. Spider thread connects thoughts and emotions. Okay, and you can all use that idea of a spider silk that is at once seems delicate but is also extremely strong in comparison to hold things together. Okay, and tie things together. And it's an effective metaphor when we start thinking spatial, when we start thinking relationally, because the spider thread itself can be layered. The idea, the archetype of the spider's web and the spider's thread can be layered. And it's such a versatile, useful tool to inject into your poetry. Because when you think about spiders and how they weave their webs, when you think about how the web encompasses the space that the spider builds it within, and you go back to all sorts of myth building, how the spider features in native cultures, how the spider would feature in European culture, how the spider reflects in Asian culture. Again, the spider is used as a motif for expressing ideas and thoughts.
Here's another thing as we come towards the end. We've got the title and we've got the first line, with open hands you offered yourself, and then a kind of deflection,
Yes.
something that's an understatement, but it's perfect for where it is and when it is. I changed the subject. Okay, you changed the subject then, and maybe because you did, you're coming back to it now, because now you're coming right to the heart of the matter.
Yeah, and again, the deflection, I think, is really necessary, because it's the speaker, again, is allowing the reader to make the interpretation about the scene and the situation. The deflection is necessary because we get the sense of why the opportunity is missed, about the relationship between the man and the woman.
Yeah.
What other thoughts do you have?
Simply that it makes me want to read more of Susan Waters, and here again, if people can get a sense of what the poem looks like on the page,
Yeah.
and also one more time to mention Susan's chapbook that was published from the Orchard Street Press. heat lightning with that beautiful cover on the front. And I've read the poems in this book and other poems by Susan. She and I, on a personal note, were colleagues for at least 15 years or more, and we are good friends, and it's good to be featuring her poem today on our Lee County NM Voices One Poem YouTube.
Great. Well, thank you, Pete. I think we've covered everything, I think. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for being patient with our little technical glitches. They happen from the time to time. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you find opportunity to read Miss Waters' poetry. And again, poetry is important because words are important, because you are important. And there we go. Have a great day, everybody.